Welcome to the Galvanic Applied Sciences tutorial series. In this video we will show how to calibrate analog inputs. For information on how to physically connect to the analyzer, please check the 903 wiring book, which is found on the CD or in the 903 GUI software under the Help menu. Start the 903 analyzer software. Log on. Click Update and enter the password. The default password is 2222. Go to the Analog Inputs page. The Analog Input tab is divided into two main sections, Analog Inputs 1 to 4 and Analog Inputs Alarm. There are four available analog inputs to use. Analog Inputs 1 and 2 are normally set up as default 4 to 20 milliamp inputs, but all the inputs can be scaled to what the operator requires. Analog Input 3 default setup is for a thermocouple input from the total sulfur furnace if the analyzer has that option. Analog Input 4 default setup is for an optional pressure transducer for live pressure readings. Within each of the analog input boxes are 6 data entry fields, 6 result fields, and 3 initiate buttons. The description field is where you name the analog input and must be 6 characters or less. The analog input descriptor given will appear under the analog input section on the status tab and on the analyzer LCD display. The minimum field is where the lower limit of the range is entered, which will be 0 most of the time. The range field is where the maximum or span limit of the range is entered. The value field is the calculated range value for a given 4 to 20 milliamps input. Engineering units field is where the operator will put the units that correspond to the type of analog input. Calibrate AI button. To calibrate each analog input, the Calibrate button needs to be pushed. Once this is done, the grayed out scaled 0 and scaled span fields will turn white and will allow data input into these fields. The Capture 0 key is used to capture the AD bits that are associated with a 4 milliamp input during the calibration of the analog input. Scaled 0 field is where the 0 value or the range would be entered. For 4 to 20 milliamp range, the 4 milliamp value would be entered. Raw 0 field shows the AD bit count for the 4 milliamp input. Capture span key is used to capture the AD bits that are associated with a 20 milliamp input during the calibration of the analog input. Scaled span field is where the span value or the range would be entered. For 4 to 20 milliamp range, the 20 milliamp value would be entered. The raw span field shows AD bit count for the 20 milliamp input. Analog Inputs Alarm. In this section there's a column of alarm-enabled checkboxes, of which 4 are above the limit value and 4 are below the limit value. On the right side of the limit entry fields is the action section of the alarms. This is where the operator can choose if a solenoid or relay should be energized for a particular alarm. In this example, we will show how to calibrate Analog Input 1. Press the Calibrate AI 1 button. In this example, we will calibrate Analog Input 1 where 4 milliamps is equal to 0 and 20 milliamps is equal to 50 engineering units. In the example, the engineering units range will be from 0 to 50 psi. In the minimum field, enter 0, and in the range field, enter 50. In the engineering units field, enter psi. In the scaled 0 field, enter 4, and in the scaled span field, enter 20. Push the temporary right to analyzer button. Connect the milliamp calibrator to the Analog Input 1. Refer to 903 Analyzer Wiring Book for a detailed description on how to connect the calibrator. Set the calibrator value to 4 milliamps. Wait until the AI raw field is stable. Then push the Capture 0 button to capture 0 point. Set the calibrator value to 20 milliamps. Wait until the AI raw field is stable. Then push the Capture Span button to capture span point. Push the temporary right to analyzer button and the permanent Write to Analyzer button to complete the process. To test, set the calibrator at 12 mA. Make sure the AI milliamps field reads 12 mA and the value field reads half a scale, which is equal to 25 psi. Please repeat the same procedure for the rest of the analog outputs. This concludes the How to Calibrate Analog Inputs tutorial.